my wife announced. I'm giving you a performance review every month, like a real job. So I CC'd her on my email to a divorce lawyer and got her arrested that I've always taken pride in my efficiency, in optimizing processes, streamlining workflows, and maximizing productivity. It's what makes me good at my job as a logistics manager. And if I'm being honest, it's something I tend to apply to all aspects of my life, including my marriage. Maybe that's why what happened seemed so logical, at least at first. My name is Mark, and I'm 35 years old. I've been happily married to Sarah for 7 years. She's an amazing woman, creative, passionate, and fiercely independent. Where I'm methodical and pragmatic, she's spontaneous and artistic, bringing a sense of color and vibrancy to my otherwise ordered existence. We met in college, bonding over our shared love of spreadsheets and well-organized bookshelves. Okay, maybe that was just me, but she was the one that I loved. In the midst of what this all was, I could always find peace with everything with the fact that she existed in my life. Our life together was, for the most part, a well-oiled machine. We divided household chores, shared financial responsibilities, and communicated openly and honestly about our needs and expectations. We made sure that things ran smoothly, that every task was assigned, every deadline was met, and every problem was efficiently resolved. The only problem with the oil was that eventually oil would break. And there, the machine stops. But, lately, things had started to feel strained. Sarah had been working long hours, juggling multiple freelance projects, and seemed increasingly stressed and overwhelmed. She had taken on some extra work, hoping that with it all we would have to be more settled and that it would help us to move forward. I tried to be supportive, offering to help with the chores, to take on more responsibilities around the house, but she always brushed me off, insisting that she could handle it all. You knew that these people could only be there for so long before they decided to just stop. At least that's what was about to play out. Then, one evening, after a particularly grueling day at work, Sarah made an announcement that changed everything. We were sitting at the dinner table, picking at a hastily prepared meal of takeout pizza, when she suddenly cleared her throat. "Mark," she said, her voice unusually formal, "I've been thinking about our marriage, about our household responsibilities, about how we can make things more efficient." I raised an eyebrow, intrigued but slightly wary. "Okay, what did you have in mind?" She launched into a detailed explanation of her plan. She had been reading articles about performance management in the workplace, about setting clear goals, tracking progress, and providing regular feedback. And she had realized that these principles could be applied to our marriage to create a more structured, more equitable, and more fulfilling partnership. "I'm going to start giving you performance reviews, Mark," she announced, her eyes shining with a strange intensity. "Every month, I'm going to evaluate your performance in key areas: household chores, financial contributions, emotional support, and physical intimacy. I'll provide you with feedback, set goals for improvement, and track your progress over time. Think of it as a way to optimize our relationship, to ensure that we're both pulling our weight and meeting each other's needs." I stared at her, dumbfounded, trying to process the absurdity of what she was proposing. Performance reviews? In a marriage? It sounded like something out of a dystopian workplace comedy, not a loving, intimate relationship. "Are you serious, Sarah?" I asked, my voice laced with disbelief. "You want to treat our marriage like a job?" She nodded, her expression earnest. "I know it sounds weird, Mark, but I think it could really help us. We've been drifting apart lately, and I think this could be a way to reconnect, to communicate more effectively, and to ensure that we're both getting what we need." I hesitated, my mind racing, weighing the potential benefits against the obvious absurdity of the situation. On the one hand, I valued communication and transparency, and I wanted to support Sarah's desire to improve our relationship. On the other hand, the idea of quantifying our love, of reducing our intimate connection to a series of metrics and evaluations, felt deeply unsettling. But I wanted to be supportive, to show her that I was willing to try anything to make things work. So, with a deep breath, I forced a smile and said, "Okay, Sarah, I'm willing to give it a try. It's good to do more." "Really?" she asked, her eyes lighting up with excitement. "You're on board? You're not going to think it's stupid?" "No, honey," I lied. "I think it's brilliant. It's good and is going to change our life. Let's see what comes to light from this." But the alarms were there. And if I went back on that now, I would hurt her so much more. But then I hung up and called the lawyer. That night, as I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, a cold knot of anxiety tightened in my stomach. What had I just agreed to? Was this a genuine attempt to improve our relationship, or a twisted power play, a way for Sarah to control and manipulate me under the guise of optimization? Tom would tell, I supposed. It was now her time to act, and this was all that I could do to try and fix the relationship with the love of my life. This is going to be just fine, I thought. It felt really cold, and I did not know it. Then, the first performance review arrived a month later, delivered with a mix of fanfare and faux professionalism that only amplified the absurdity of the situation. Sarah had created a detailed spreadsheet outlining her assessment of my performance in four key areas: household chores, financial contributions, emotional support, and physical intimacy. Each category was assigned a numerical score, ranging from 1 to 5, with accompanying comments and suggestions for improvement. I stared at the spreadsheet, my mind struggling to reconcile the clinical language with the deeply personal nature of our relationship. I was a project, not a partner. Under household chores, I received a score of 3 out of 5, with the comment, needs improvement. Consistently fails to empty the dishwasher and often leaves dirty laundry on the floor. There were comments about being sure to complete everything when I can and stop being so lazy. Under financial contributions, I scored a 4 out of 5, with the caveat, satisfactory, but could explore additional income opportunities to alleviate financial stress. I worked constantly to provide money. Did she not even recognize that? Or was I supposed to do even more? All of this made me think and be more angry with her. Under emotional support, I received a dismal 2 out of 5, with the scathing remark, fails to actively listen and often dismisses my feelings as irrational or overdramatic. Needs to be more empathetic and validating. You need to stop with all your problems, the comment said, and I just sat there, dumbfounded. I was there to help her, not to be attacked and used for her self-benefit. This all made me what was in my mind very bad. And finally, under physical intimacy, I scored a 3 out of 5, with the suggestion, needs to be more spontaneous and creative. Foreplay routine is becoming predictable. There was more I could be doing in life, and I don't know if that was the same thing. I looked up at Sarah, who was watching me intently, her expression a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. So, I said, trying to keep my voice level, what do you think? She shifted in her seat, avoiding my gaze. Well, overall, I think there's room for improvement, she said, her tone carefully neutral. But I know you're capable of doing better. Just focus on the feedback, set some goals, and try to do better next month. I wanted to explode, to scream, to tear the ridiculous spreadsheet into shreds. But I forced myself to remain calm, to play along with her game, at least for now. I am not a doll for you to play out. What have I done for you to treat me like this? All those thoughts kept swarming around my head. But for the past few months, there hadn't been much connection. The only time she ever talked to me was when it was about what the charts were saying. Okay, I said, forcing a smile. What are my goals for next month? She brightened up, pulling out a neatly typed list. First, I want you to start emptying the dishwasher every day without being asked. Second, I want you to explore some new investment opportunities, maybe look into some side hustles to supplement your income. Third, I want you to start actively listening to my problems, validating my feelings, and offering more emotional support. And fourth, I want you to surprise me with something romantic, something that shows you're thinking about me, that you care. She had so many expectations. It was a daunting list, a clear indication that Sarah was expecting me to completely overhaul my personality, my priorities, and my entire life in order to meet her ever-increasing demands. I wanted it all to end here, but it just would not do. It needed to stop. But I knew I could not stop what it was going to be. The chaos would begin. As the weeks passed, I really did. I emptied the dishwasher, researched investment opportunities, listened to Sarah's problems, and even attempted a few romantic gestures, all while juggling my demanding job and trying to maintain some semblance of sanity. I don't think those actions worked and were as I had expected, but it wasn't enough. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't seem to meet Sarah's expectations. The performance reviews became a monthly ritual of disappointment and recrimination, each one filled with new criticisms, new demands, and a growing sense of inadequacy. I wanted this person out of my life. She was ruining all that I had ever done for myself, for those that I valued and loved. I tried to talk to Sarah about it, to express my concerns, to explain that I was feeling overwhelmed and unappreciated. But she wouldn't listen. She was too focused on the numbers, too obsessed with the optimization of our relationship to see the damage she was inflicting. "You're not trying hard enough, Mark," she'd say, shaking her head in disappointment. "You're not meeting your goals. You need to step up your game." I just looked at her and walked away. If I was not supposed to mean anything, then she should follow through. I needed support. It was something I could not do, what would hurt me, and would ultimately break me apart and make my life even worse. It felt as if I were on my own, completely lost and alone. "Can you help me?" I asked Lucy over the phone. She responded, "You are my friend. It's the least I can do." This was going to be the hardest fight for me. But as I thought it through, I had come to the conclusion that the real problem was those performance reports and how to show people how bad this really was. I know there was no way to get everything to stick, but it was time. It was my turn. It was my time to get everything to stick and make my play. Lucy had me set, and I reached out to a good lawyer for the coming fight. It was time to not get even, but to become better. The time for thinking and letting things continue is done. Now it is time to make sure things get solved. Lucy responded before I reached out to the lawyer. Update 1. The weight of Sarah's performance reviews was crushing me. I felt like a lab rat, constantly being observed, analyzed, and evaluated, my every move scrutinized, my every flaw magnified. The joy had been sucked out of our marriage, replaced by a sterile, transactional relationship devoid of genuine connection. I was just a number. Then, I realized I had no shot in all of that. Her methods were already tested and had been made clear from the start. I needed a way to win by playing her game against her. One day, as I was sorting through some old files, I stumbled across a folder containing Sarah's performance reviews from her previous jobs. I had almost forgotten about them, but seeing the neatly typed documents, filled with detailed evaluations of her strengths and weaknesses, sparked an idea. If she was going to treat our marriage like a workplace, then maybe I should start playing by her rules. It was a risky move, one that could easily backfire, but I was desperate. I had to find a way to regain control, to push back against her manipulation, and to reclaim my sense of self-worth. I knew I couldn't beat her at her own game, but maybe, just maybe, I could use her own tools against her. That night, as Sarah was preparing for her monthly performance review session, I casually mentioned that I had been thinking about her career. "You know, honey," I said, my voice as nonchalant as I could manage, "I've been meaning to ask you about your job. You've been working so hard lately, and I was wondering if you were finally going to get that promotion." Her eyes widened slightly, her expression shifting from anticipation to suspicion. "What's that supposed to mean?" she asked, her voice laced with defensiveness. I shrugged, feigning innocence. "Nothing. I'm just curious. I haven't seen a performance review in a while now. Are you doing everything I know you're able to do?" She paused and said, "What is that supposed to mean, and why are you coming at me like that? I didn't know I was going to be graded." She huffed and went to the bedroom. As I made my plans, I knew a friend, so I sent out an email and said, "Check in. I need legal help now." After sending that email, I knew all would fall into place. This was all going to change in a way that she never expected. "Who are you sending emails to?" she yelled. "You need to just focus on that you are doing," I stated. "Why do you feel so much like I'm out to get you?" Her silence was just so telling. What could there be that has not been said? What was I even supposed to respond with? The only choice for me was to not talk and not be responsive, or that was to go down to the next play. What I needed to was to protect my career. It was all about what was to come and what I needed to do, no matter what problems I had run into. I could not be stopped from what I was doing. As if on cue, the lawyer responded, "I understand. Here is my new address." I was going to end up working on what was for me, or at least to help me to come out and be all good, as it was something that had gotten to me. Final update. Her suspicion had been confirmed. I was playing a game, just like she had, and I knew, somehow, that she didn't like it one bit. The piece was over, as all was about to be at its end. I had to get home now. I used a few vacation days to figure out everything, and there was nothing more to do. That night, I told Sarah that I had gotten something for her from the lawyer and needed her to sign it. It was a performance review as well as documents saying she agreed to a divorce. She was in shock. We had said our pieces, and it was then for her to leave, which she did after some time of deliberation. There were so many more things to think about that were better for us to get through it. In the long run, everything would be much better and set into all motion with things to see as those changes went on. As for me, there was another problem at hand. The documents that she had taken were gone. She had taken all the reviews and such. I had to act quickly, so I told the police about everything. After doing so, a series of events took place that put everything into motion. I heard from the HR as well that she tried to leverage those reviews to say I was a terrible worker and that they should be fired. That's not what ended up happening. They realized what was up and saw those communications as highly suspicious. They all sided with me. I was in tears from all the appreciation I was seeing. I was offered the new role that I wanted and so badly needed. It was all coming to an end as I saw what was working with it. I had to be very careful, but otherwise, all of it was going according to plan. In the end, there was nothing I had to be concerned about anymore. This was because of what she did. She ended up facing charges for manipulation, what would come to be, and everything that I valued. She also tried to appeal the case for her. But there was nothing to be said. What did she want? I did not know, and she had to pay for it. As for me, I have been doing a lot better. What had happened to me was in the past, not what was to come. I went on to create a wonderful family for myself. So that had to be all that could have occurred. Looking back, I don't regret going through the performance review. I'm sorry for what occurred for her, but my hand was forced.